Good evening and welcome to another edition of the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, where we're breaking down the top stories from Districts 5 and 6 in Idaho high school athletics. My name is Joel Richardson. Let's bring in my co-host, Sean Kane. Sean, good evening. Happy Monday night. BYU is not in the playoff, but the Bears are rolling, dude. How you feeling?
Well, they lost Sunday, Joel.
Well, some of us don't totally concentrate on the losses. It's all about the wins. You take the wins when you can get them, and you kind of push the losses aside.
The good news is the Bears have more games to play.
That's true.
And a chance for the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah, dude.
It's a really good chance.
Bless the NFL, man. Imagine just having a playoff, right? And hey, BYU's in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, dude, so watch out. It's going to be awesome. They were going to play Notre Dame until Notre Dame bailed, and now they're playing Georgia Tech. Notre Dame, dude. This is Idaho high school athletics. We get it. But if you're a Notre Dame fan out there, man, I don't know. Are you happy about that? Would you rather play in the Pop-Tarts Bowl or just move on to the next season? I don't know. Seems kind of presumptuous, pretentious to bail on the Pop-Tarts Bowl. But I
have to chime in because I saw kind of both arguments on both sides. And and with the transfer portal and things like that, it's kind of interesting. I think it brings up a conversation like, is it worth it to play in the bowl game? Are these guys going to leave? It's just what would people not play, right? A lot of people, would they not play? I think there's a lot of interesting points. I think the landscape of that has really just changed in a way that I think will change every year now. Like we'll see something different. And do we need 85 bowl games or whatever? I mean, it used to be kind of fun. There was a bowl game
every night, and it was fun. Like it was good. Well, maybe it wasn't good, but it was crazy, right? Just like insane football.
But now a lot of teams get in the bowl, and the best players don't even play because they're transferring. So
or they're resting for the draft. They don't want to get hurt for the draft.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what I think the bowls are. If they don't have the value, right, then they're not gonna. We're not gonna get the value game. But anyways, that's my 2 cents on it.
No, it's a good point. Yeah, no, with the current state of college athletics, you understand the reason why these teams bail. You still want to play the game, especially if you and of course I'm a biased BYU fan, but I think if you are saying we belong in this playoff and we could beat the teams ahead of us, well then come play BYU and see what happens, right? And if you beat them, then I think you have more of an argument. Not that BYU was a playoff team, because according to the committee they weren't. But if you played BYU, if you beat BYU, and let's say Texas Tech goes really far, then you could say, look, we were good, right? But with the current state of things, I totally get that teams bail because half the team is in the portal or they're preparing for the NFL draft, and that's their livelihood. So I agree. I kind of get it.
Yeah.
I disagree with bailing on it, but I understand the reasons for it.
Yeah, Bama shouldn't be in it. That'll be my hot take.
Oh, come on. Yes, 100%.
That'd be the biggest one. My hot take. But let's get away from that.
Okay, sorry. And sorry about I'm still working on a cold here. So and last week.
Disgruntled BYU fan. He was yelling at the screen.
That's right.
That's why his voice.
We were putting shiplap up in our house during the game, and of course I'm like stopping every nail gun, like, wait, what happened? Listen to the game on the radio. But it's okay. Texas Tech is an awesome team. So
hopefully they win it all.
That would be amazing. It would be amazing. But I had zero problem with that loss. Yeah, it stinks to lose, but whatever. We only lost 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they lost them again, and you just know they're just a better team. So it's all good. Okay, let's get into what's actually important here in East Idaho high school athletics. This show is brought to you by Ideal, Idaho's college savings program. College is expensive these days, so develop a savings plan. Should be your first and foremost important step in helping families and helping you finance a college education. It can be used towards a higher education, trade school apprenticeship, or even student loan repayments. So for more information, go to idsavings.org to create or learn how to create an ideal 529 account today. Sean, this show is, we teased it out in our little preview. There's a lot of Rigby going on, and we're not talking football. We're talking boys and girls basketball. Let's start with girls basketball first, dude. They're 7-0, being coached by Todd Barber in his 5th season. Rigby is on fire to start this season.
Yeah, I mean, I was almost, kind of my lean into the title of this episode. Will Rigby girls lose a game?
Right.
In the regular season? I don't know. They're off to 7-0 start. Their latest game came on December 6th, where they took down a division classification down opponent, Shelley, 66-36. But they do. My dog doesn't like it.
Well, I feel like he's agreeing with you. He's like, yeah, spitting bars, Sean King.
But they did, however, beat Boise, Hawaii, Blackfoot, and Pocatello.
Yeah, they did.
Hold on, Charlie, you continue.
Oh yeah, I got you. No, Rigby is for sure. They're on a tear, and they got they got the East Idaho Holiday Shootout coming up. Big game though this Friday is they play Highland. Not sure if Idaho Sports is going to do the game. Hopefully they do. There is a chance if Idaho Sports does the game this Friday, Sean, that I'll be on the call there. But some big stuff coming up, Sean. I already mentioned the East Idaho Holiday Shootout, and they play Highland at Highland this Friday.
Yeah, like I was saying, they've beaten some really good teams. Like you said, I don't know all the teams for the East Idaho Shootout, which
right,
potentially some other Boise teams. I don't know for sure. Those will be big ones, but like you said, a big game against Highland, which is also off to a pretty good start, 6-1. Brooke Ward, a former assistant at Century, now the head coach at Highland, off to a good start. But I was also going to say Rigby brings back a lot of good players. Kinsey Larson, Burnside is kind of their big. She plays pretty well down low. I really like what the Trojans are doing. But like you said, leading into this Highland game, it's a conference game. Both teams, amazing start to the season. Highlands only lost to Pocatello, which they avenged Wednesday night. Relying heavily on a freshman, Miley Stuckey, a freshman getting some big minutes, putting down points, but none of these games have been high scoring. I haven't seen Highland put up the point totals to make me think that they're able to beat this Rigby team right now. But at home, Highland plays in the small gym, their home games, due to that fire. It's a dynamic atmosphere. It should be a great one.
Yeah, Shannon Barnes shouting out Rigby. She says, "Yay, Rigby girls! They're on fire indeed." Shannon, maybe Shannon will be at the game on Friday against Highland, and that gym is very interesting because it's smaller. It's not their main gym due to the fire. It does create this really nice home court advantage. If you wonder if Rigby gets behind or if Highland's right there with them going into the fourth quarter, it's really anyone's game. I think because Rigby is favored, but it's at home in that smaller gym, Highland has a chance to do something big and steal win if they can stay close or even be ahead in that fourth quarter and allow that sixth man to step in as it's at home game. So yeah, great stuff with Rigby Highland. Sean, I was saying that Idaho Sports may be at the game this Friday, still trying to work out the logistics there. And if so, hopefully I'll be able to be on that call and bring that game live on IdahoSports.com. Rigby girls on a tear playing Highland this Friday night. We also mentioned, going back to Highland really quick, though, they got Canyon Ridge on Wednesday, and it's a bit of a tune-up. Canyon Ridge, though, they're taking a step back this year, but you don't look ahead too much at Rigby. You beat Canyon Ridge, but it can be kind of this tune-up game to really work out some kinks before Rigby. And you might think, well, why are we playing conference games so soon? Sean, girls basketball is already almost halfway through the season. If more than a quarter, but a little bit less than halfway, we are rolling in girls basketball already.
Yeah, and you've got a Canyon Ridge team. They're 2-4, and they lost closely to Idaho Falls. They lost closely to Twin Falls. They lost closely to Burley, which I think Burley is a really good team.
Yep.
I think that conference is going to be tough with Burley and Mountain Home kind of leading the way. It's going to be tough, but Canyons Ridge isn't a team. They've played all these teams fairly close, so not a team to look past. In fact, the whole the whole district, the whole 6A district is pretty tough. There's a Madison team that I would say is kind of not off to the start that was predicted, but I still think they have Mia Walsh. They have players that can come in and do lots of things. And so it'll be interesting to see, and a Thunder Ridge team that's playing pretty well too. So a very highly contested district. I think you definitely have Rigby at the top right now. Highlands biting at the nails to get there. It's been a while since they've been to state. It's kind of been Rigby Madison for a good while now. So it should be a fun conference battle because, like you said, we're into conference play.
Yeah. And then something for Madison to look at and something for us to look at when you mentioned Madison, we haven't talked about them too much so far this season, is Pokey plays, but Pocatello Thunder Girls play Madison this Wednesday. And so that'll be a good litmus test for Madison and Pokey. Pokey, I think they're 3-2 right now or so. They have a winning record, but it's not by much. So interesting to see what Pokey and Madison do as they're not maybe as strong as they have been.
Pocatello at 3-2. Yeah. Madison 4-2. So again, pretty strong. And Madison's, only 2 losses come from Boise opponents, Eagle and Rocky Mountain, 2 teams which we're going to see appear at the top of the list of polls and rankings, I think, as we move forward. So their 2 losses are to 2 quality teams. And then they've beaten Kuna and Hillcrest, Skyline, and Idaho Falls. So yeah, that's a big game for Madison. And I think Pocatello, you've got some common opponents wrapped in there with this 6A, 5A thing. So some good measuring sticks.
Like it. Another team to watch, Sean, that we included in our graphic. Let's throw that graphic up here now. For teams that Sean's cold hard picks for girls basketball so far, because girls basketball has been going for about 3 weeks now, right, Sean? And boys about a week, 2 weeks. But these are Sean Kane's kind of top teams so far. This isn't for the season. These aren't his preseason picks, but these are teams that he's interested in so far. Of course, talk about Rigby. But one team we haven't mentioned yet, Sean, is the Marsh Valley Lady Eagles basketball team. We got some good information from their head coach, who we reached out to kind of find out what's going on down there in the happy Marsh Valley. What do you got from the Marsh Valley Eagles, and how are they 6-0 to start the season?
And yeah, let's preface this like we've got just kind of one team from every classification around the area that is played well, done some good things in the past couple of weeks, and we'll rotate these out as here we go. But I mean, look at that, girls, Joel. You got 6 teams. You only got 4 losses in all those teams.
Yeah,
you've got some teams. A lot of
and
teams
3 are from the same team.
Yeah, and well, yeah, and Blackfoot's losses to Rigby, one of them. Right. So you've got a lot of mixture in there. But yeah, Marsh Valley, Ashley Baker, her 4th season. I was going through the power rankings and looking at the schedules and things, and we talked a bit about this a little bit before we wanted to air. And what team would you probably see there normally? Probably a Sugar Salem, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I looked at that and I'm like, yeah, Sugar Salem. They might not. That could be the title. Will Rigby or Sugar Salem ever lose a game? Well, Marsh Valley might have something to say about that, right? They're off to 6-0 start. Coach Baker says they have plenty to prove on, but they're building an identity with high, I love this quote, high intensity defensive threat. On our speed on both sides is frustrating teams. We have more depth in the pass, and our bench has saved us a couple times. So right now, these Eagles coming with a really talented guards, right? You have talented guards. You have Merzlock. She's averaging 17.6 games. or 17-point games, points per game. Tazy Belknap, right? She's got 13 points. And then Olivia Campbell and Ellie Lunt down low. So they've just really got some good players. Also, kind of talked about this team's gone through it all, right? The seniors have seen it all. They've had losing seasons. They've lost teammates. They've had losing seasons, lost teammates. They lost a playing game last year, right? Which really hurt them. But no matter what, they haven't given up on each other or her. They put in extra time and showed loads of grit, leadership. They don't expect that to change. They seem, just totally focused in the system they built for 2026. And, District 5, it's always a battle. Snake River was kind of that king for a while, and they've taken a step back a little bit and rebuilding a little bit. Snake River is, state champions, some great play there. And you have American Falls, and now Marsh Valley showing, what resilience is by sticking with it. I mean, nothing's harder. I don't know if there's any harder loss maybe than that play-in game loss when you have to travel somewhere. It was probably Pocatello High School. And or maybe it was farther, but not getting in on that play-in is tough. So congrats to the Eagles and coming back strong this year and off to just a really good start, 6-0, and they have some really good wins, right? They have wins over Kimberly, Grace, North Fremont, which North Fremont I think is a sneaky team with Lens.
Yep.
And then Saturday that was the game. North Fremont, Marsh Valley won 46-37. So just a team on the rise for sure.
Yeah, and I like one thing that Coach said was they have this high intensity defensive threat.
Yeah,
and then their bench has saved them a couple times this year. Sean, that's a recipe. That's a tournament recipe team, right? That's a recipe for tournament team. That's a recipe for going deep in tournament, not just district but state. We always say it's the age-old adage: defense wins championships, and then your depth is going to be tested in the playoffs. Not just injury, but someone goes cold, and you got to find answers somewhere. You got to find a spark somewhere. Suddenly, you bring in someone off the bench, your sixth man, and they get you those 4 or 5 points with a couple offensive rebounds, get some putbacks, and suddenly you got some life breathed back into your game. And the fact that Marsh Valley is winning off of defense and bench play is I really like that from Marsh Valley. Debbie Coons-Keach, a friend of the pod for sure. Don't overlook Bear Lake 100%. We'll probably be talking about Bear Lake in the next few weeks for sure. But this is just this week and so far. But Bear Lake for sure will be in the conversation, no doubt, Sean.
Oh yeah, Bear Lake. Definitely. This is a tough conference. Like I said, Snake River was the king for a while, or the queen, I should say, and Bear Lake reigned supreme. I think it's a tough conference. I just like Marsh Valley's stat line. So through 6 games, they're averaging 56 points and only giving up 37 points. I like that stat line from the Eagles. I think Bear Lake was also off, to a pretty good start. Their losses are Sugar. They did beat Blackfoot in a very close game, up a classification,
right?
And then they did lose to Syracuse, Utah, which I'm not the expert in the Utah teams, but I'm pretty sure Syracuse is usually pretty good.
Yeah, that's been my impression.
And they beat a Ryrie team. Bear Lake beat I think a Ryrie team that's also very good. Pretty decisively, 65-29. So yeah, you've got a tough conference, but we have to shout out the Eagles for this hot start. And they're going to have Bear Lake to play a couple times. They're going to play Malad later on in the season, which it will be another big game. Really all big games. I think when you start off a season 6-0, or just when you haven't lost, right? I think it'll be interesting to see what happens after maybe a tough loss or something doesn't go that right. Basketball season's long. A loss here and there doesn't mean anything. I'm just surprised how many girls teams we have with just almost unblemished records.
Yeah, it's really surprising. All right, Sean, one more team from the girls' side you want to talk about based on your Canes' top teams so far in the last couple weeks? Or someone not on the list that you want to talk about, perhaps?
No, let's go. I'll go down to 1A and go Ledor because
okay.
I
4-0 Ledor.
4-0 Ledor. You also have Mackey that's 5-0. Yes, I could have went there too. You have Rockland that's 4-3, but played some tough opponents. But yeah, I like this Ledor team. Dina Shiner there. They've beaten Salmon, Clark County. They beat Salmon twice. It's a little deceiving, but Richfield, big win. But yeah, Ledor are off to a hot start too. So that's another team where I just again in that Rocky Mountain Conference, man.
You never know, dude.
What's gonna happen? And Mackey's good too. They beat Nampa, right? At 63-39. So another team to watch. So some kind of comparables, but it should be interesting. I think it'll be fun to see what Ledor can do.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like the Ledor pick as they're 4-0. Mackey 5-0, Rockland 4-3, Taylor's Crossing 2-0, American Heritage 2-1, North Gem 2-1, Grace Lutheran 2-2. You just don't know in this Rocky Mountain 1A conference, man. Anyone can win any given night, but right now, yeah, the queens of that conference in 1A, Rocky Mountain, is Mackey and Ledor, who are undefeated. So we watching them for sure. Maybe next week, Mackey will be more of an interesting note, but a couple games, and maybe Rockland, who has lost 3 games, but they played 7. They played the most games out of any team in that conference. Maybe they will start picking things up there. Any other teams, Sean, that you want to discuss on the girls' side?
I'd kind of be remiss not to talk about Firth too. Firth Cougars.
Yeah.
Jan Sorensen in the 3rd season, 5-1. And why they kind of stuck out at me, and they're not the top of the list, but they did have a very close loss to a really good Malad team, which that Malad team's on that list. That Dragon's flying high, and it was only and sometimes we talk so much about wins, right? So I also, in my in-depth research, tried to look at losses, because you could have a lot of wins that are meaningless.
Are you saying there are quality losses, Sean? Please don't talk about.
If you're listening, losses. I just winked at Joel. But I do think in girls basketball, I do think in basketball as a whole, if you play really good and still lose to a good team, you can walk away with that a lot of stuff you can focus on, address, and go, this is, if we could have done A and B, we'd got to C. So I do kind of find losses, they didn't get blown out. It was semi-close, 57-45, probably a few free throws at the end made it a little bigger than it was supposed to be. But you're in that game. So I do like that. I think Firth is off to a good start. I think that's going to be another strong conference. I mean, there's just a lot of girls teams that have very good records in East Idaho. And it's been really fun to watch. So coming up with that list, Joel, is harder than, maybe picking a team for a playoff spot in the college thingamajigger.
That's right. I love it. No, dude, Firth is 5-1, Ryrie 5-2, North Fremont 4-3. Those are your top 3 teams in the Newt Conference right now.
Heard that before.
Yeah, right. Really, really good stuff from Firth. I love that you picked them as a team to watch in the last couple weeks that we've had so far of girls basketball. And honestly, Brandon Bainey he put out a great, it was a great article, kind of like a preview article. No, it wasn't preview. It was like your top players that he does. He kind of does the top players every week for girls basketball. And his paragraph was really good. He basically says, it's too bad that we have to overlap girls basketball with football. So you got football finishing up and girls basketball starting. And we have some great stories, some good teams that are competing already. And it's kind of it is overshadowed by football. Which is, again, I wish we could figure that out. And Brandon says that he wishes we could figure that out, because we've now gone and we couldn't pod last week because of logistical issues, and I wasn't feeling well. I'm not as strong as you are, Sean, but because we missed last week, we missed essentially 2 weeks to talk about girls basketball. So I'm glad that you created those teams based on, the kind of first quarter or so of the season, so we can make sure we're shouting out the right teams, and some teams that we may not get a lot of accolades, like a Firth team, the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as commentary on girls basketball, I think we've done probably the most, right off the back, hitting it steady. And it's funny because the girls have a couple games. It's like end of football, you have Thanksgiving break, and then you turn around and some of the teams are into their 8th or 9th game this week, right? So you've and in the old saying will be, it's not how you started, it's how you finish. But the start's important, right? I think it's important you get on these streaks, or you're playing well. It's going to be important later when you look down the road. And I'm glad that we're able to bring that in, because there's so many good girls basketball teams in East Idaho right now. We may also have to take North Idaho's time slot. I'm just saying.
That's right. Hey, speaking of North Idaho, Sam Buffington, friend of the Prepcast and friend of Idaho Sports, he reposted this stream. Thank you, Sam, for reposting. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the socials of IdahoSports.com, so you know each and every week when we are going live. Again, last week we weren't able to go live, but Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. I always want to say Instagram, but at least for the Prepcasts, we're not on Instagram yet. For some Prepcasts we are, some we aren't. Here on the East Side of Prepcast, we're not. But don't forget to like and subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, X, to know when we're dropping each and every week. Thanks again, Sam Buffington, Mr. North Idaho, for helping us get this podcast out to our listeners and viewers. And also, the show is brought to you by Ideal, the state-sponsored tax-advantage savings plan that help you and your kids pay for the rising costs of college. Go to idsavings.org to find out how you can save on college here in Idaho. Speaking of starting strong, Sean, let's go to boys basketball. The game that I was broadcasting last week with a new broadcaster. Actually, he's a student here in East Idaho, only 18 years old, but did a great job, honestly, for his first time, I thought. But want to shout him out. Maybe I won't dime out his name quite yet. I don't want to embarrass him, but he did a good job. We were in your neck of the woods, dude, on a rainy, kind of sleety night.
I was there, Joel.
And you were there, dude. Blackfoot at Century. Blackfoot coming into the game 0-0. Century coming into the game 2-1. So a good start for Century. No, Blackfoot hadn't played yet. Blackfoot comes away with a crazy, crazy victory, 66-64. What did you see from your end as the game went on, as the game started, and then went on to then be a loss for your Century Diamondbacks? But what did you see throughout the game overall?
I mean, through the game, like to watch, it might be one of the better regular season games of the year.
It may come down to be the best one in East Idaho,
unless you get some crazy overtime, right?
Right.
And this game had a chance to go to overtime. But
free throws.
Overall, I thought it was kind of like unrhythmic. There was no rhythm to the game, and I think that's probably how Coach Frost maybe wanted it. Both teams wanted to make each other uncomfortable, and I felt like both teams did a good job doing that. And I was impressed with Blackfoot's lack of size and their ability to defend the size that Century has. I think that's probably the most important factor to that game, really, is Blackfoot was able to kind of keep Luke Webb and Zen Fleshman from having big games. And I think that, I mean, if you could say all kinds of things in this game was the key to the game, but for me, that would have been Blackfoot's defense down low and rebounding with really not a ton of size. Was super important, and they played good defense on Justice Mangum as well. But that what I like about Century as I transition that way is Century's got a bunch of guys that can hit you, right? Justice didn't have a big game.
No,
Adrian Gonzalez did 25 points.
They've
got a couple different weapons, and if they could get that low game going of Luke Webb, Zen Fleshman, I think they would. I think they're going to be really tough. And then RV, the player. He's a dynamic small guard shooter. He's really good, and I'll let you talk about who you picked as the player of the game, because I don't know if I would have went with you there. I might have went RV because he makes that
too predictable.
He makes that layup at the end of the game and goes to the line. That was huge.
Yeah,
but I'll let you say what you thought of that. But it was a good game. It was interesting. I think two good teams. Like when I was talking to people about this game, I go, yeah, Blackfoot's preseason top team in District 6, and everyone's like, okay. There's not really, but I could see why Friday night. I could see why coaches would look at that roster with RV, Sorensen. They have a couple other players that kind of sub in and out and do things. I could see why they could be dangerous in District 6.
Yeah. So I'm going to answer your first question. Oh, well, first we got to hit up Sam Buffington once again. Go Diamondbacks, only for you, Sean. Sean was coming out for the North Idaho Prepcast, Sam. So that's very nice of you to
just their time
reply back, just their time with the Go Diamondbacks. Thanks, Sam. Diamondbacks, very, very interesting team. But Kason Sorensen was our IdahoSports.com player of the game, brought to you by the Idaho Office of Highway Safety. And that's because of what you said. You mentioned the bigs down low were really shut down. Zen Fleshman, Luke Webb, even Cousino was from Blackfoot. Never mind. But Century has another big, I thought. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, Luke Webb and Zen Fleshman were shut down. And a lot of that was because of Kason Sorensen had such a monster second half. Century did a lot better job on the board second quarter. But starting the third quarter was a lot similar to the first quarter in terms of offensive rebounds and boxing out, shutting down those bigs down low. And a lot of that was because of Kason Sorensen. Then on the offensive side, he had that massive second half. He ended up with 22 points. I think
he was in foul trouble too, I believe. For a good part of the game.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember the fouls. He had like 7 or 8 rebounds, like 5 or 6 assists, but he was flirting with a triple double there. And I think his play, especially down the stretch, he made some big baskets, got some good stops against those bigs and against a Gonzalez guy who was, like you said, he was on a tear with those 25 points. But anyway, they're really their main presence. Cousino got foul trouble. He fouled out their main guy down low. So Kason Sorensen had to step in for Cousino and did a good job along with his fellow smaller 3 and 4s who were playing kind of down low with him to negate the presence of Zen Fleshman. And so he was our player of the game, but we highlighted his offense, but really his defense did a great job negating the taller Century guys down low. So yeah, that's my answer to your first question. And then Blackfoot's coming into this game as a preseason favorite from District 6 and from 5A. And so I'm not surprised that Blackfoot played so well. But Sean, I was surprised, although I'm going to contradict myself, that they did play so well. It was the first game. Century, that's their 5th game of the season, 4th game of the season. And Blackfoot showed that, we said this in the broadcast, that they were in mid-season form. They were playing well together, and I know they were all sophomores and juniors last year. The same starting 5 returns. All the players, I think, returned from last year. So I think that's why we saw them play so well so early on.
Yeah, I'd agree. I had the stats on my phone. Yeah, Sorensen did have 4 fouls, and he was limited to like 20 minutes or so. And
22 points in 20 minutes.
24 minutes, I believe it was. So that's pretty good. And I thought Blackfoot definitely came out very strong out the books. And I would say that in the home games I've watched of Century, they've either come out really hot or not necessarily hot, but they've come out and executed quickly, and it's really led to being in control of the games. And then the games where they haven't come out and executed as well, and maybe that rebounding piece, I think plays a huge role. Then they've had a hard time struggling to get back in. But Blackfoot didn't like put on training wheels. They just started driving right right away.
Yeah. And then to your point of Century, they can come out fast. And Coach Frost, friend of the program, right? Great dude. Always a great conversation. He did a great job of adjusting and getting Justice Mangum open looks in that second quarter, late in the first, early in the second. I think in the first quarter, their largest lead was 9, and I think they may have gotten 10 or 11 later on in the game, but usually that lead just stuck at 9. And Century did enough on defense to keep themselves in the game. Second quarter, end late first, early second, Justice Mangum got on, he got far, and you saw why Century is playing so well right now. Mangum was like lights, he was lights out from 3-point land. Gonzalez was getting loose, getting buckets, but really they got back in that game despite Justice Mangum having a quiet night and foul trouble and they were playing really good defense against them. He got them in that game because coach was able to get him open looks from the 3-point range. So I like your point of Century can get hot, and we saw that again. Their typical deficit was 9. I think largest lead was 10 or 11, but they had a chance. They had a chance to tie the game. They were in it at the very end. What was it, 8 seconds left or whatever? A couple free throws. Gonzalez, if he can hit 2, he ties the game. Misses both. Yeah, and it was too bad because he really had a fantastic game. He was this close to being a co-player of the game. But Gonzalez, fantastic game. They have so many weapons, that Diamondbacks team. And the fact that they were still in it against a preseason favorite in Blackfoot was really impressive.
Yeah. Adrian had Gonzalez had a chance, and he's a pretty lights out 3-throw shooter. Century overall, I don't think shot the 3-throw very well that game. Yeah. I think they made all their, I'm sitting by the guy taking the stats, Joel, so it's kind of easy for me to, if we, at one point, if Century had made all the 3 throws, they would have been ahead in the game, and missed too many 3 throws. I'll come back to bite you. I will also say that this game was, the officiating was very interesting, to say the least. Both teams had a lot of people in foul trouble.
Yeah.
So the bench, I think, played a very important role for both teams, which you usually don't see that as much sometimes in like a non-conference game. You don't see a lot of, foul trouble, but there was a lot of fouls in this game. There was, there was had a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it did. And to your point with the free throws, man, Blackfoot also missed some clutch free throws down the stretch that kept Century in the game and gave them a chance. But then Arvey, who maybe you thought should have been the player of the game, which is totally valid, he ended up sealing the game with a couple of his free throws, and Blackfoot ends up winning that game 66-64. But was an awesome game. Again, Blackfoot, you thought maybe they're going to run away with this. They're up 9 the entire game. Century could not get past the 2-point deficit. Century always got within 2 and couldn't get over the top until the very end.
Yeah, they tied it the one time. That's why I would have said Austin Arvey was the player of the game.
Right.
I think Century hits some 3 throws, ties it up. He goes straight down baseline, goes up, gets fouled and makes the basket. And then that was kind of it for me. But Blackfoot does a lot of baseline, runs guys through the baseline.
Mm-hmm. Those backside cuts
to get people open, and they really attack the baseline. The Broncos will be a fun team to watch, and maybe the team to beat in District 6 right now. I mean, it's, like you said, it's pretty early, but you just gotta. I'm interested to see what Hillcrest can do. They've lost a lot of people, but they still have Sweetwood, right? I mean, yep. he's a big lad. He can rebound. You've got a Shelley team that I always think is kind of dangerous, and Skyline. It's District 6. As always, is going to be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Let's look at really quick, Sean, the preseason poll for boys basketball. I'm going to share my screen here. Tell me if you can see that. We good there?
Yeah, let me make my screen big.
Yeah, so if you're watching on your phone or computer,
hit Control Plus.
Yeah, hit that Control Plus and
on your keyboard, and it would be a little bigger.
And then also you can hit that expand screen on your bottom right-hand corner of the video. But here is your preseason. This is on IdahoSports.com, the boys basketball coaches poll presented by Project Filter on IdahoSports.com. You were mentioning, let's go to 5A for the coaches. Blackfoot, there it is, number one. You're per the coaches again. This is your preseason favorite. Blackfoot, then Shelley, IF, Hillcrest, Bonneville, Skyline. But maybe I don't know about your 5 and 6, but maybe even 5 and 6 on any given
Bonneville,
night, right? Any given night, they can win.
Century squeaked by against Bonneville. Bonneville took care of business against Pocatello. I think Bonneville at 5. That's a rough 5.
Yep. Yep. Well, and sometimes I think coaches can play a little reverse psychology and not rank their team high, and so people see this and, oh man, Bonneville's ranked so low, they're going to be bad this year, and then Bonneville comes out and gives Century a really good game. What do you think about Preston, Century, and Pokey? What do you think about let's focus Preston, Century. We already talked a lot about Century, but Preston still that number one seed. The number one seed, the number one preseason favorite per the coaches of that district.
Yeah, and when you pulled up the graphic of the teams, the team I would have picked to talk about would be Preston. Yeah. Ty Jones, 16th year. Last year they're 25-1. They lost to Timberline at their own tournament. They go on to win the state championship in pretty dominant performance. A dominant performance. Up there like Rigby's football this year, I would say Preston in 5A basketball. Preston's at 3-1 right now, and they did lose to Burley, a Burley team which I think has maybe some of the best shooters, 3-point shooters I've seen. But when Preston did play Burley, I'm pretty sure they were down Trip Beckstead and Parker Galloway, which are two big seniors. Now they've gotten back on track with everyone being on the team, and they've done nothing but win, and they've beaten Twin Falls. They avenged their loss to Timberline up in Boise, and they also played Bora. They took care of Timberline 47-41 and decisive win over Bora 62-27. So yeah, I think you've got a Preston team that in the word, they lost a lot of guys. They're it's not going to be the same Preston team. But I think they're still going to be pretty solid, and I think Century will be able to compete with them. I don't know about Pocatello. Pocatello off to a rough start. Yep. Pocatello's got a good roster, and also Pocatello has Jordan Wilkinson, who played at Century last year. He transferred to Pocatello. So when you look at the roster Pocatello brings, you've got this three-way dance with only one winner. Yeah, and it should be fun to see. I think Pocatello off to a slow start. I still think that they're a pretty good team. You get Tavin Williams, Hunter Cordell, like I said, Jordan Wilkinson. They've got a lot of good pieces and some shooters and some guards as well. So we'll have to see. Again, it will be I think a highly contested conference, but Preston. It's Preston's until someone beats them, really.
Yeah. And they're the defending champs, right, of 5A.
Yeah.
And Pocatello, they have names that we've heard the last 2-3 years. So I don't think they're going to be bad necessarily. I know, like you said, they're off to a rough start, but I think just Century and Preston are going to be better. But we'll wait and see, right? Again, this is preseason coaches poll. Was there another team that you want to talk about from 4A or 3A?
I think it's, if you go up to the Southeastern Conference, I think that's going to be a pretty good conference too. Look at it, tied for one, tied for third.
Right.
Right now they, American Falls just had a win, is 2-0. They're kind of off the hot start. That's why I put them on that list. Wins over Kimberly and Aberdeen. Just recently they beat Aberdeen 65-27. Zach Grigg, 15 points. Remember him? He played a little quarterback there.
Yep.
They had 3 players in double figures that game. I like that when you have a team with multiple people scoring the rock. They got a first-year head coach. I'm guessing it's his dad and Stephen Grigg.
Right.
I'm guessing. I will assume there, but I like American Falls, but I just don't know if there's a bad team in that conference. Bear Lake is a little removed from being kind of a dominant force. Snake River is always tough. They lose some great players, and Marsh Valley, what a run they had last year. at the tournament as well. They just had to, play Bonner's Ferry, right? If they're on the other side of the bracket, who knows what happens. So you've got a 4-way dance there that I think is going to be pretty fun to watch.
And then I want to hit this new conference, whether it's football or basketball, but you have a straight 5 team set here with Ryrie 1, Firth 2, etc. I won't read that out to you. But Ryrie number 1 had a great football season. Again, this is 3A. You're really close to playing 8-man football, so there aren't a lot of options in terms of athletes who are playing, maybe one sport. They're all playing football. They're all playing basketball. Maybe not all, right? But a lot of them are coming to basketball. And Ryrie had a decent team last year, but I like that they're picked first. Maybe some of that football is carrying over onto the hardwood.
Yeah, and in that conference, you've got North Fremont, West Jefferson. They're off to 2-0 starts. Ryrie's only played 1 game. They're 1-0. They took down South Fremont. So I think you're going to have some teams. We're not too far removed from Firth being pretty strong at basketball too, and they're just kind of in the girls are up and coming. They're a little back, and
right.
Salmon. Salmon's 1-1 in that conference, but it's North Fremont used to just always be that team that went to state and did well, and you just like, oh, yep, North Fremont's winning a 3A boys basketball game. I think that was the first time I ever did state basketball was North Fremont State. Was it St. Mary's or Melba? I can't remember. It was a game-winning shot from half court, but everyone was surprised North Fremont didn't make it to the championship game.
Yeah,
but it should be another highly contested conference.
Yeah. Well, that's the preseason coaches poll. Some of the teams that are interesting in that preseason coaches poll. One more time, these are the Canes' top teams for the boys: Rigby, Preston, American Falls, West Side, Butte County, and the Miners. Any of these teams that you want to just shout out really quick before we head out of here, Sean?
Yeah, I was gonna say, kind of sticking in. We do a lot of 3A here, Joel. Maybe we should just do the 3A Prepcast. But I think West Side's off to a pretty good start.
Yeah, I was surprised by that 3-0 start.
And they beat Grace, which is 6-1. So Grace's only lost. They beat Firth and they beat Marsh Valley 47-44, which I found kind of surprising. That Marsh Valley's win is why I threw West Side in there. And so they're off to a really good start. And again, if we talked about American Falls, we talked about Preston, Butte County and Grace are both 1-1, so that could be interchangeable there.
Right. See every time, right?
We could see how that could pan out.
Yeah.
But then again, our favorite, it's got to be our favorite conference, right? The Rocky Mountain Conference.
Yeah,
man, I think this is going to be quite a year, right? Mackey just had just one of the best, I think, games in state last year that went to overtime at the state tournament that I can remember watching. It was just crazy. So it'll just be really interesting to see Mackey off to a 4-0 start. Played some quality teams, but again, right, when we start to look at this Rocky Mountain Conference, 4-0, Grace Lutheran is off to a 4-0 start or 3-0 start. They've got some, they got Grayson can dunk it. It's pretty fun to watch. They've got some videos of that matriculating on social media. You've also got, Rockland, always a tough team, and Rockland brings back a host of people. Shane Neal, a great coach. They beat Cary. They beat Murtaugh. Oh man, it's just going to be tough. I think Water Springs lost some of that height, right? They had the really tall fella, and it'll be interesting what they do. And such a new school and able to get to the tournament and do some things has been fun to see for Water Springs. So, and Taylor Crossing off to 2-1 start. So yeah, I don't know. And I don't know, but Mackey right now has the best record. We don't have any conference games, but we'll give the Miners a shout out. And what were the Miners on the preseason?
Let me find that. Yeah, the Miners were 5. They're picked 5 in the preseason coaches poll.
Yeah, so you had Rockland, Warm Springs, Grace Lutheran, which I think is going to be very dangerous this year, Chalice, then Mackey. But again, we haven't had any conference plays, but definitely a good time to shout out Mackey with a 4-0 start for the boys.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. That Rocky Mountain Conference in the 1A is going to be wild. Rockland, Water Springs, Grace Lutheran, Chalice, Mackey. That goes 1 through 5 in the preseason coaches poll. But right now, a little bit switched with Mackey, Grace Lutheran, Rockland, Water Springs, all undefeated, going 1, 2, 3, 4. Interesting to see what Water Springs can do. They're only played 2 games, but they're already averaging 72 points those 2 games, giving up 46 with wins over Salmon and Castleford. So, I'll be watching Water Springs for sure, see what they can do in this season. Here, a comment from Jake Landon. Ryrie starting 5 all started and played both ways in football. Yeah, there we go, right? A successful football season. These kids have played together. They played a ton of games together. They were in uncharted territories during the football season. So it's really exciting to see this transfer from the grass, from the turf, to the hardwood. That chemistry, I think, is going to go a long way. We talk about, again, playoff district tournament and state tournament teams. A team that's played together a lot in a lot of different circumstances and situations, contexts, is, I think, going to go far, especially, obviously, when you have some talent behind that. But, man, I don't think we talk about chemistry enough, and Ryvie's got that chemistry going on.
Yeah, and something that doesn't come up a lot, and I talked to a couple of coaches last week about this, is how long does your football season go? Right? So Ryrie,
that's a great point.
When as far as you can go, it's not like Ryrie's got some, Larry Bird that only plays basketball sitting
right.
Sitting in the school, right? It's like you said, it's the same 5 guys. So a key point is always, how long does it take to make that transition? Is there injuries? What do you got in the tank? We know these guys are stellar athletes. I'm sure their tanks are full, but already having that chemistry from the football translates well when you have to make such a quick turnaround to start playing football or playing basketball. But how will the basketball be, right? So teams that make that transition quickly do really well. Teams that struggle to find that, it's hard. And we have a lot of teams in East Idaho that played into the playoffs, like Century, Blackfoot, or Black lost first round. Century went to the second round.
Mm-hmm.
So, those are just some teams and some of the same players,
right?
There, right? So you're going to see, I think as the season goes, these teams that had a lot of their football players that play basketball get better as they get a little more acclimated to basketball. Great athletes can do it all the time, but I think once you get kind of in your basketball mindset, it's a lot easier to see what you're doing.
Yeah, I think we saw that with Hillcrest last year. If I'm remembering right, Hillcrest was really quiet early on. We're struggling, but they got some of their players back, and they got in the championship game because half their squad was healing up from injuries from their football championship run. So watch out for Hillcrest this year, as they'll probably get started quietly once again. Hey, we're gonna get out of here, Sean. We've been going for almost 55 minutes, but it's been a really, really fun show. Want to shout out Shannon Barnes, Debbie Coons-Keach, Sam Buffington twice, and then Jake Landon for joining us on the show and making comments. Please feel free to comment throughout the week. Send in your comments on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and we'll try to respond and keep this conversation going throughout the week, and then going to next week. One last thing, Sean. This is my second to last show on the East Idaho Prepcast. Just life has gotten too busy, and as much as I want to keep this thing rolling with you, this has been a total blast the last couple of years. I gotta make sure I'm balancing my time well with family and with work and other responsibilities. So this is my second to last show, man. We'll do one more show next week. Then it'll be the holidays. And Sean will go it alone, or hopefully find someone more handsome and more smart than I am to join him as the co-host.
I mean, I could talk for an hour, but does anyone want to listen to me talk for an hour? I know the students at school don't, but they get to.
but they get to. And so, if that's what we got to do, we will take it all the way. But Sean, I just wanted to say thank you again. We'll do one more show next week, and then I'll have to sign off. But I want to thank you for a good time these last couple of years.
Absolutely.
And it's really been a blast, and especially so much enjoy shouting out these kids and talking about these teams. And we banter back and forth, but in the end, all these players, they're kids. They're kids having a good time with their friends, doing hard things, and it's really fun to shout them out and celebrate them and talk about them and even dissect their games a little bit and make it feel like they're kind of professional. And anyway, it's been a really, really fun ride these last couple of years. So I want to thank you, Sean, for letting me co-host this show with you.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for being here week in and week out and really highlighting the players, athletes, coaches, friends, family, everyone. That's who really enjoys it. So thank you. And definitely, Joel's not gone. He'll still be doing games, guys. So look out for him for doing games, and we'll see what happens. It's it's always darkest before it's brightest.
That's right. Sean's co-host is going to be I'm trying to think of what's his name from ESPN, who Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is coming on next, right? Going to co-host with Sean.
I do like to argue.
They're going to really go at it. And I'll still be broadcasting for Idaho Sports. Really want to focus on that and try to get to as many games as I can throughout the season. But in order to do that and keep everything else afloat, I got to step back here. So so please, if you see me at any games, please come up and say hi, and we'll keep at least keep our conversations offline. We'll keep those going and talking about all these teams and having a good time. But we'll be back next week for our final show together, and then it'll be the holidays. Tons of great basketball coming up this week. Keep chiming in on the East Idaho Prepcast on the conversation. Keep it going, and then go to IdahoSports.com for schedules, for scores, and for great stories for all of our East Idaho teams. That's Sean Kane. I'm Joel Richardson saying be excellent to each other. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time on the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.